Hey there, and welcome to our webinar replay of tcDocs with Tasheena Pine. If you missed the intro or would like to get in contact with Tasheena, go down to the description for all of the information you need, including our future events. Let's dive right in.
There's always questions about software. So everyone's always curious, okay, once you use the software, and once the software is purchased, what do you do with it? What does a day in the life look like? So first we're going to start off just talking about what a day in life for me as a tcDocs user is like. When I receive a new transaction, a new escrow, I'm in California, so new contract, we would go into tcDocs and I open up a new transaction. We need an acceptance date. We need to know which agent we have, and then we can get going. So I'm actually going to share my screen and show you, I created a sample transaction for this webinar here, and I'll show you what it looks like inside of tcDocs. I know some of you are A-frame users, possibly, or open to close, and so you would be more familiar with like a one sheet, but in tcDocs we call it a summary report. So I am going to show you what a sample transaction looks like in tcDocs so that you can know the inside scoop. So let me share that with you now. So here in tcDocs, we call it the summary report as mentioned, and this is all the information. Now, it's not going to look like this when you start off. This is me filling it out prior so that you all don't have to see me typing away. But each section results in information on the summary report or one sheet or your information sheet that you would have. So here is the first section, transaction attributes. A lot of people forget that it's called this. They also call it transaction details. This is where your general information for this specific transaction would go. So normally the status is going to be open, which in this situation example, we have buyer or seller representation. Rule is also an option. You can add MLS numbers, title numbers, escrow numbers, a file number. Let's say that you use SkySlope or Brokerment, and maybe they have a specific file number within their system. This is where you could put it. And then also in like SkySlope, you have a specific document email address where you might say the broker might want you to include that email in all of your correspondence. That is where this email address would go here. And if you want to forward any documents to an email address, it would go there. If there is some other email address that you want linked constantly, you can put it here. So there's many options for that. And of course, address, contract. So we have in California, I'm not sure about other states, we have a contract date and then we have an acceptance date. So there's spots for each of those. And then closing date is based off of a specific date or mutual acceptance date. So all that financial information, property information, tax, it's all there. HOA, whether it has one or not, a warranty, you can put utilities here, and also the NHD. I know I'm going fast, but if you have questions, just pop them down in the chat and we'll get back to you. Commission information, your TCP, all of it can go here. Now you might say, Tasheena, I don't want all the information on the summary report. I don't want people seeing my TCP. I don't want people seeing my agent's commission if you, let's say you're sending this to a lender. All of this is customizable, where if you don't want it to show on the summary report, you can just press this little I, and when the I has a line through it, that means it's covered and it will not show on the summary report. If it is not selected, then it will show. So once you have all the information in, this is what it looks like. And so for me, I know most TCs will send the summary report to their agent. I personally like to send it to everyone. I just make sure clients, buyers, and sellers' contact information is not there. But the lenders love it, the title team, escrow team, everyone loves it because every piece of information that they really need is here and we don't have to repeat ourselves. So I send it to everyone and they love me for that. Of course, commission information I usually take that off, and that's about it when it comes to that. Now, the next part, which us as TCs live and die by our checklist, is the task section, which I have customized my transaction tasks for California. And so you can apply or import any task that you created. So seller task list, main task list, ones for brokers that don't have a portal or compliance system. You can customize it as much as possible so that it results in less work. So here, if let's say I need to create my timeline very quickly, I go into the milestones and then I'm able to change and update it. So if our contingency period is 10 days, I can change it to 10 easily, and that's going to update in my system. The other thing that I do when we start a transaction is schedule emails. So I initially always send out an intro email to everyone, which I mentioned, and that's where I attach that summary report. And here are all the codes. So because I put my information in here, some of them are already showing, but I'm going to show you the template so that you can see the background of how this is set up. So this email will go automatically to escrow, to the buyer's agent, to transaction coordinator on the other side, to the lender, and to title. Everyone's included. So when I go into a transaction, I just apply this and we keep it moving. We don't even have to worry about adding everyone to every transaction, which is beautiful and saves so much time. You might say, well, where is the contact information coming from? How do you know who's included? That's where our associates, participants, or a lot of places will call it your contact section goes. Of course, this is all me for the sample, but this is where your seller information, buyer information, seller's agents go. And when you apply those emails, it's pulling from this section. So their contact information pulls immediately. And once you have it in there, we all know we work with the same agents over and over. We don't have to redo work. We don't have to reattach them. And we can go ahead and schedule any emails we want. So let's say if we have an inspection contingency, I like to schedule those reminders. And so you can schedule it. I'm like, okay, it's going to Tasheena. It's already set up. It has her name in there. It's the date. We know that based off of the timeline, it's due on the 28th. So we would schedule it for May 28th. I love to schedule them first thing in the morning, so 8 a.m. And you'll see on here, there's codes on here, so it's not going to actually schedule for the webinar, but you'll see it'll ask my time zone, or do you want a time zone for someone else? So if, let's say you were in another country, you might want to make sure that it's going out for whichever time zone you work in. So really amazing elements to tcDocs. And I had a couple of questions before about calendar syncing. And so I have my Google Calendar and my Google Gmail in general connected. So you have Google Calendar here. So you can go to my calendar and then you go to your primary calendar if that's the one you want, or your customized agent calendar and sync those ones. You also have Google Drive here. So if you're saying, okay, Tasheena, well, I need somewhere to load my documents, it's not going to store within tcDocs, but it will store within Google Drive, and you can connect a folder within your Google Drive so that every single time you go into this standard transaction, it's going to pull up. So I know with Zoom, it's a little bit slow, so bear with me. But if you go into my main folder and I say, okay, well, I want every time I open it, I don't want to have to look around. I want it to go into main sample folder. I would press the home button, and every time I open this transaction, it's going to take me right there, exactly where I want to be. So let's say we're here, and I say, okay, I'm ready to look into Google. It's going to take me exactly into that folder that I pressed as the home folder for each transaction. So that is generally what a day in my life. It's very fast. So But we're going to go through some other questions a little bit more detailed that Josie and I have put together. And then please put your comments or questions down below. That's the general gist of what your transaction will look like in tcDocs on a day-to-day basis.
This was absolutely amazing. And I've heard so many times tcDocs doesn't share calendar events. tcDocs doesn't post documents. There are so many misconceptions out there. If you don't know what you don't know, what are we going to do? So this was amazing. And it definitely got me excited about what's going on. Oh, and, okay, cool. So yeah, I thought we don't have any questions so far, but yes, of course, my brain was going. First things first, that one sheet was amazing. Yeah, right? Jewel said, wow, so helpful already. I know. Lisa said, wow, did not know that. Great tidbits. Yes, this has been mind blowing. And I'm going to be completely honest. In the very beginning, when I first started exploring these different tools, I had started in TC Workflow, and I had gone to tcDocs, and it was just so different, and I didn't understand it. I did post a YouTube video because during that time, everyone was asking like, oh, what about this one? And what about that one? And I didn't shine it in a light that it should have been shined. And I think this is what a lot of people, if you don't fully understand, of course, we're going to not see it as something that might fit, but love this. So we do have a question here. How does the summary send as a PDF, or how does it go out if we want it to go out?
So I always print it as a PDF, and then I put it in Google Drive folder. So you attach it to your email as a PDF. Now, I also know that there are quite a few TCs that copy the summary report and then they paste it within the email, and it also looks beautiful that way. So you have both options if you would like it to just be right in the center as an image on your email. You can do it that way, or I personally like the PDF, and agents can save it on their computers and have it on the go.
Awesome. Yeah, I loved that one sheet as well. Everyone knows I love OTC, but it's pretty. It's prettier here. And I guess with when you don't have anything in a date, it's not going to show, right? It's just going to remove that field from the sheet, or does it still display with a blank option, if that makes sense?
Dates or the milestones only will show if you have it, first of all, marked as a milestone. So I'm going to show my screen another time so that I can show how those work, because that's something that I have a lot of TCs come to me and say, Tasheena, how did you get those to show up? So first of all, the main thing for tcDocs users to know is your summary report is customized by your profile section. So when you go into your profile, you can customize what people or associates you see or exclude or include, and also the attributes to include. So on here, you see the summary, whatever page you want it to land on whenever you open tcDocs. So for me, I love my summary report, or the one sheet summary here. So I always have it open to that. Other people might have notes, they might have their task list. You can customize that as well. And then on the summary, you can see that it's right. And this also is Google integration. You can work off mutual acceptance or whichever day you would like. But here you see it says hide critical dates for milestones of their status emails. And then it's a little bit further down. I just don't want to jar everyone's eyes here. I'm not saying it at the moment, but there's a place where you can add whether the key dates or milestones will show up on your summary report. So for mine, the way I have it set up, I don't personally I don't use the key tasks very much. So the key task can either show at the top or at the bottom. I just use the milestones because in California we just have contingency time frames. So let me pull up some sample backups so that we can see it. And you'll see that in your task list, if you had it all open displaying everything, here are all the possible dates. You can make any of these dates a milestone, which will then, so if let's say I put intro email to all parties, that now will show on your summary report. So if you don't
That's amazing.
your summary report, then you just take it off. And you can customize it completely. If you say, hey, you know what, there's a final walkthrough and you want that to be towards the bottom of the summary report, you can make it a key task instead, and that's going to put it lower it's going to just subdivide it a little bit. So that's an option as well.
That is amazing. And you can keep your screen up if you want. I think we're going to be in there a lot. So, I mean, just those features, a couple features there, OTC doesn't have, and I don't hate to compare things because that's what we want to do, right? We're looking at, okay, what am I missing? What extra things do I have? And towards the end, I'll pull up a big checklist that I've been working on, like comparison wise, just so that we can all talk and brainstorm on it. But I'm already seeing things that OTC users have been asking for a long time. So that's amazing. We do have some more questions. So Emily would like to know if we have to build our own checklists and intro emails from scratch in the very beginning, or are there templates that we can customize to our processes?
So there are email templates in place. I'm a customized type of girl. So I don't use the templates that they have. I will show you here. These are all the possible templates that you can put in tcDocs. There's checklists, commission plans, documents, emails, notes, phases, and tags. In the emails, there are custom sample ones that tcDocs has provided. I honestly will have to search for them for you guys because they're way at the bottom because I don't use them. But you'll see here, I create a template for anything. I say when I'm teaching, if you have written an email more than once, make it a template. So that's why I have so many. It might be a situation where I might have just only used it a few times, but that next escrow or transaction that you have in a few months, you want it to be there. And there, as far as the checklist goes, you do have to customize and create your own checklist. There are not built in because everyone's checklist is so different. If you ask 10 TCs, they're all going to have a different checklist. They're all going to have different amounts of things on their checklist. So there is no standard here in tcDocs, but it is very simple to create. You add new and just start adding tasks. So it's not a complicated process to put together.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't know they had a template center anyways, but I guess it does make sense. And feel free to reach out to me afterwards, Emily. I am happy to get you. I've created like a general task template, and I do have a bunch of email templates that I have in a spreadsheet. If you wanted to kind of get your juices flowing, I'm happy to help you there. We do have another question. Can you have a different one sheet for every agent all ready to go and assigned to that agent? For instance, if one agent doesn't want the sheet sent to someone, but another does, can that be customized?
Yes, you can. So I know that quite a few TCs, so you'll see when I open my transactions here, I just have the ones that are samples and a couple of other ones here, but you can, let's say that this one here, I wanted to make it for John Smith agent that is very particular. He wants his custom summary report every time. You can create it for him and let's say you know who he normally works with, what he normally wants on there, and then when it's time like, oh, John has a new escrow or he has a new contract in, you would just copy that transaction and then customize it to, you know, add the buyer's information, seller's information, adding the contact and timeline. So you can have stock information in there already and just copy it. And I keep that in the holding section so that you always have those go-to top producers ready to go so that you don't have to create it from scratch every time.
Nice. And I think I did have a question around that too. I love that one of the things that OTC doesn't have is the ability to, I guess we can do fields, but not tasks. So I guess so the one sheet is prepared for each transaction, right? It's not a template. It's something you say, okay, this, you can customize it each time. You just don't create templates that will auto customize it, is basically the answer to the question. Cool. And we do have, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Did you want to add to that?
Yeah, so you can have, like this one is, I have it labeled sample, but you can have it where if you wanted to, you know, attach John, you can attach him, have, you know, if you have a normal go-to title person, you can have them attached. So you can do a lot of legwork in the beginning and have those ready as just samples to be templates to copy, but you do still have to add in, of course, because our seller's going to change every time, buyer's going to change, other agents so you still will have to input those, but you can have samples set up. And I think one of the might be part of your question is if they, let's say they have an assistant, or if they want you to have a custom email footer, there also is that option. So if you have, let's say, Tasheena at @johnsmith.com, you can also put that in there. So here you'll see that it says any agent notes, any preferences, you can add that and under their specific contact. But let's say I have, you know, Tasheena at John Smith. This is what my email will show. So when I send out emails for John Smith, it's going to show him, that's the email that everyone's going to see. Even though it will see my Google, my Gmail, it's going to, and then you can customize that email footer signature. And every time you send out an email, you won't have to custom add your email signature to that email. It automatically will attach because it knows, oh, you're sending an email for John. You want this email and you want this email signature.
That is amazing. And I love how they have it in the contact and, the sent from email. So you got to tell me a little bit more about that. So, you put it here. Would that be the end of their, like, okay, so I'm assuming it is going to match the end of their email. So it looks like you're sending from them. It sends to your email. When you reply back to that though, it's going to send from your normal email address when you reply to that email.
So there's two options. What I have for some agents is usually I have, you know, my own email login for that specific email address. What tcDocs is set up to do is it's going to BCC your regular email, which is your Gmail. So I have it go out as Tasheena at johnsmith.com. It BCCs my general email, so it's going to be in that inbox, but it will also be in the inbox of whatever email you're sending from. So it's going to work for both of those. So you can have
absolutely amazing. Yeah. So cool. Okay. And did you say that there was a way to add an assistant automatically? Did you say that?
Yes. So there is an associate assistant section. But what I like to do better is, because if you add an associate assistant, then you have to make sure that every email that you send to John Smith, that his assistant code is on that email template. So instead of doing that, because we're busy, I like to personally just add a comma, and then add the assistant email here so that every time we know John likes his assistant to be CC'd on everything. So whoever's on the team gets added. That's why it says email address or addresses. You can add as many as you want. And so John's team gets sent out emails at the same time, and you don't have to remember to attach everyone.
Oh my gosh, I want to cry a little bit how easy this is. This is amazing. Well, it is just, there are brokerages that require by law, you have to BCC or CC them on all emails. Title companies have assistants that we always forget who their assistant is. Like, these are those contact connections from OTC, if you're familiar with that language, contact connections where you're able to have that every time you add this agent now, all of the people are already going to be pre-populated where they need to. That is just so cool. Okay, I'm going to keep going with the questions. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What I personally do for the summary report is I will still add their assistant's name here. So, whoever it is, Kate, her name will show on the summary report as a name under John Smith, but her email will be connected with John so that every time we email them as a team.
So cool. Amazing. And do the emails attach to the tasks?
Yes, they do. So here you see on the checklist, let me go back to the one that I created for today so that we don't look like we're not looking at all red. No one wants to see that. You'll see that on the emails here or on the checklist, there's these envelopes, and those are all email templates. So every task that has an envelope has an email connected to it automatically. So when I say, okay, I got a new transaction, I have a new transaction, I want to intro email to all parties, I will apply that email. It pulls everyone that I have already added into the system, and then I can send the email on, and it will apply whatever timeline I have added as well.
Love it. Can you go back to that task pipeline there, and can you tell me what that G is? Is that to send it to?
That's Google. So if you want, and you'll see that there's only a few G's for me. I like to have just the important things connected to my Google Calendar. My agents don't personally look at their calendars, so I don't use the feature of connecting with agents. I use it for myself. And so these sync with my Google Calendar so that earnest money deposit due dates will have, I'll show you what it looks like inside. So down here, when you're connected to the Google Calendar, it says, yeah, I want this task connected, and then you can set up any reminders you want. So I could set.
I want to cry a little bit again. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm getting excited. Go ahead.
That's okay. I love it. One day, an hour, a week, whatever you like, and then that Google Calendar will send to you through an email. Or if you just want a notification, just pop up on your Google Calendar, it can do that as well.
Okay, so that means that you can have a Google Calendar that is shared with your agent, create tasks for your agent, click that G button, and have that task show up for the agent for them to complete on their calendar?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Amazing.
And I personally have used it as well for if you want like a home inspector, if you have a specific calendar for your agent and say, okay, I want this, you can take that task, add it on here, add a specific time to the task. So that's where the appointment comes in. So if you want it at, their home inspection's at 8 o'clock, then go into Google Calendar, invite the home inspector, and that notification will show up for them as well.
Amazing. I want to get through these questions. I have so many, but you guys are more important. Let's keep going through them. So, can you send emails from the program, or is it copying? Oh, I think we answered that. Let us know if you have any backup questions there, Haley. But yes, we can. And is it via Gmail? When you send, does it also show in your sent box from your Google account? Or is it here that it's centralized?
It's centralized here, but it's set up. I'm going to show an email. So this is just a standard email, no template. But immediately it will always, I have myself as the agent, but it's going to BC your agent automatically and BCC yourself. So it goes into your inbox. So that you also know, a lot of TC says, well, how do I know that this is working when I send an email that it's actually going through? So it BCCs yourself, so it goes into your inbox when you send it as well.
Gotcha. And when they reply, it goes to your inbox, and you can, does it go to the same thread, or does it show up as a new email?
It goes to the exact same thread. So that's the beauty of the BCC.
Oh my gosh.
So it goes, so let's say I send a, hi, I'm Tasheena intro email. That's in my inbox. And so when they reply, it's all on the same thread.
Well, and that's an amazing system that we can create around when we send emails, whether we have to follow up or not. Yes. That's going to show up in our inbox. We're either going to archive it because it was a one-off email, or we're going to put it in one of our labels so that we can follow up if we don't receive a response back during a certain period of time. Amazing. I am so in love. Okay, let me keep going because I get too excited. Okay, so I thought that tcDocs couldn't send emails from Gmail anymore. Well, apparently you can send emails from whatever email now.
So you can. The caveat is you would have to double check with Bruce, the owner, but I believe that you have to have a Google Suite or a Google, like a custom domain for it to work. I remember there was some transition in the last few months where I have one, so I didn't have an issue with it, but just regular Gmail users that just had a TasheenaPine@gmail.com type of an email, they were having some trouble with the background servers and things like that. So I believe that a lot of people migrated into having their own custom domain, and that fixed that problem. So that might be the
okay. So if you're not, well, and that's something very similar to OTC, you need a Google Workspace to be able to, it's functioning just the same. So does that mean that if you have a Gmail account, you can't send emails?
I do not believe that you can.
Okay, so you do need a Google Workspace here as well to be able to email from here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, good to know. That's the same with open to close, and the same with sending calendar invitations. That's just part of the Google integration itself. They don't allow the at Gmail, but yeah, very interesting. So that should answer that question. And can the Google Calendar task be color coded for each agent?
Yes. So you will see that if I press on other agents, the color will change. So
oh my gosh,
that color, you will have to change that within Google Calendar. So I can add, let's say that I have a 𝗪𝗔𝗀𝗻𝗄 calendar. I can create it here, but I will, if you want the color customized, you have to do that within Google Calendar, within the actual application.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I like how it transfers onto here too, so that you can also see that. But yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. So if you were to create a brand new calendar from Google Calendar, it lets you choose that calendar's color. So that's where you're going to set that color up. And this is just going to transfer over here where you can see it that way.
Right. And the nice thing is you can create, let's say you have a new agent and you're here, you're doing a new transaction. You can add them here, but you will have to invite them within Google Calendar. So, but the nice thing is, I think a part about that is you only have to do it one time. So you go into Google Calendar, you customize that color, you invite the agent to their main calendar, and then from now on you can sync and work within tcDocs. You don't have to do it every time.
Awesome. Amazing. Okay. So Lisa asked, does your calendar look insane? I have, if you have 30 plus transactions going at one time, you have a million of reminders on your calendar. I would love to hear your thoughts on that as well, because we can create these separate calendars where we can really make it agent facing. We can set up our own preferences on notifications. And it doesn't seem like we can tie two calendars to one transaction, right? Okay, so yeah, give us some insight on that.
I personally, when I first started using tcDocs, I did use the calendar feature more, and my calendar did get insane when I got busier. And so I realized that I'm in tcDocs every single day. I'm in my transactions every day. So I don't use that feature anymore unless it's a specific situation where I feel like we really, maybe a really long escrow or something like that. But I don't use it anymore because I have emails that I send out schedule for my agents with the contingency periods already, and I get a copy of those. So that is my reminder. So some people, if you have 5 or 10, I think it's very doable to see that on your calendar. I think when you're at 30, where I'm at, you don't want those kind of notifications going off all the time. So it's a nice feature when I need it. Or, if we say, okay, this transaction needs specific help, or I wanted, like I mentioned, a home inspection or a termite inspection, we need a specific reminder for something, then I can set that up. But I don't use it anymore for that, just doing it on every transaction anymore. It's just too many.
Yeah, yeah, it totally makes sense. And even putting it on your own transaction, you want to think about the dates that are actually important. Like the inspection period ending. We could really get into big trouble by missing some of these deadlines. So looking at those deadlines that you're actually putting on your calendar, do we need the home inspection date? What are we going to do with that, right? Maybe the earnest money inspection period, financing appraisal deadlines, closing date. Do we need the acceptance date on there? So also picking and choosing those, because I remember when I was kind of going through that too, I had all my dates show up. Like that got crazy real fast.
Right. That's why you'll see when you're looking at mine, like order instructions, usually I take that off. There's just a few that I have on here compared to all of these tasks. If you did it for a lot of tasks, that would be too much. But that's why for me personally now, I notice that agents pay more attention to an email than a calendar pop-up. So that's why I switched to as soon as I open a new transaction, we schedule as a team email reminders on that specific day that it's due. So I get a copy of that. So that is my way of going away from having 20 calendar pop-ups.
Wow. So cool. And we do have another question here. How long does it take you to fully set up for a new agent?
Honestly,
I guess what's your turnaround time?
When I have a new transaction to put everything into tcDocs, it's about 10 minutes, 15 minutes max. And I would say 15 if you're adding a new agent. Adding a new agent does not take much time at all. I have just about everyone that I normally work with in there. And when you've worked with a lot of people, you don't have to put a lot of people in there. But like if I had a new agent, it's as easy as going down this list. So name, contact information, email address, agent license number. It doesn't take much time at all to put a new agent in. And you can do it within the transaction and it saves for the next time. So you don't have to do it again.
Amazing. For the tasks, would you go through those buttons for us, what all those buttons are? Because I'm curious. We already know a few. You pointed out a few great ones. So maybe just a quick rundown.
Milestones, key tasks, And then this is whether it's a private task or a public. There are status emails that you can send out. I personally don't use them because I create my own custom status emails, but that's where that feature comes in. This is the bookmark. So if you just want something to kind of stand out to you, I need to take care of that task, or tomorrow that's really important, the bookmark is there. The flag is, whoa, don't move past this. That's kind of how I look at it. Of course, the envelope is the email template, the G is Google, and then if there's any link, that is where that link is.
Any links? Oh, links that will help you complete this task?
Mm-hmm.
Super cool. So you can, so let's just say you have, go ahead.
So it's a website link. So if the task is add transaction to compliance system, then you can put 𝗪𝗏 there, and it will send you for 𝗪𝗏 or broker manager or anything like that. You could use that for that.
Oh my gosh, very cool. All right, another question here. Oops. Oh, and actually want to make sure. You know, Candace, I am going to, I'm sorry, Emily, I'll get right back to your question because I did feel like I understood it a little bit differently, but then I understood how she understood it the way she did. So I'm going to reread this. I'm going to read this, back up. Wanted to make sure we're on the same page. A new agent client to set up whatever changes in templates or emails or whatever, the full customization for a new client. No, so only takes 15 minutes. So she's talking about intake. So your new file intake only takes about 15 minutes, which is amazing. So yes, what she's asking, once you onboard a new agent to the team, how easy is it to add them to the system? And do we need to do anything weird to connect things to them or customize outside of that agent profile that you mentioned?
The agent profile is it. And so you'll see in the associates section, that's where all of the agents now, you will look like, where are all your people? You just, as soon as you start typing, they'll show up. So if I typed in John, there's lots of John, they're all in here. But if you had a new agent, you would say, okay, John called me, he's a new agent, I'm setting him up. You just go down the list. So first name, last name, license number. Now this section is interesting, current, previous, and none. If you have them on current, they're going to show up on your regular transactions, the list of transactions. What previous, they will, that's if you lost a client or maybe they said, I don't work anymore. And then none, that's where it would be an agent that's working on the other side. Maybe you representing the seller and they're representing the buyer. Honestly, it takes me, that's why I said 10 minutes if I'm doing a brand new transaction, 15 minutes if I have to add new agent contact information. It doesn't take long at all. If most of my agents do not need me to have custom email signatures, if you do have to do an email signature or custom email, it'll add maybe a minute because you would already have.
Well, and that's just copy and pasting it at the bottom, right?
Copy and pasting. It's not much harder than that. So I'm sorry I breezed over that pretty fast, but it's just a matter of copy and pasting. If you have this agent here, you say, okay, well, they have a logo. It's just a matter of uploading a logo. It's not hard at all to add. Onboarding an agent is not a difficult process in tcDocs.
Well, and you know, I think back to my onboarding process and I literally have like a 60-step onboarding process. And that includes everything from like they sign and what happens afterwards. But here, everything is in the agent's profile. So with OTC, like I would have to add the contact. That's going to be their primary contact. I go over here and add their business. I go over there and add their email. I go to this other different place and add their email signature. So I like how they've centralized everything. This is literally your agent onboarding process into your tcDocs. And then you go and do your other onboarding tasks. My OTC onboarding process to get an agent into OTC, depending on how complex, like different states, different brokerages, I'm going to have to add that agent to a drop down and then go to the triggers and add the agent to the triggers and go and do a bunch of other things. When it comes to email, go ahead.
That makes my brain hurt thinking about all those steps.
It is. It gets pretty crazy. So I love the simplicity and just having everything in one place here. When it comes to emails, you're adding the role to the email template. So it's not like you have to go into the emails and add a new agent. The tasks, those are kind of disconnected unless you had like a few tasks that the agent needs.
Right.
I don't see anything outside of adding them as a contact.
Right. And I do have a couple of agents that say, hey, I want you to do this, this, and this every transaction. Then you just create a custom checklist for them and then import that checklist when you have a new transaction. I wanted to show a little bit more because when I show you the blank one, it doesn't show all the features. But here I am as an agent. You can customize the summary report, or if you say, I don't need that fancy customization, you say no, and then they're just gonna ask you basic colors, dark red, green, blue. I like custom, as I mentioned, so everything is custom over here. But agent filter color is customized here. But when you get used to tcDocs, it does not take much time to fill this out, especially if you're a fast typer. It'll take you a few minutes. I add on new agents quite often. This is where the logo goes. That's where my logo is. That's a quick upload. I think it's just a matter of you having their information here, which if you have an intake form, you would have, or they've sent you their contact information. Their company name goes here, street address, office ID, and then down here is where that custom email address would be if you had one. And then the email footer or signature for them would be customized here as well. Doesn't really take much time though.
Wow, very, very cool. All right, so I do have another one. One thing that took me a long time was figuring out how to have different colors for different age events. For new tcDocs users, you may want to show that.
Sure. And I was thinking about that, and that's where that agent filter color, many TCs look at. I'll show you my transactions. Right now, I'm showing you my holding transactions, so this is not how many transactions I have, but you'll see everyone has a different color. In my brain, it helps me to know them as a different color in the system. So with every agent, they have a different color, but when you go into associate and you have your agent, you want to customize their color. Normally, you're going to have me as a TC. It will always give you this regular gray color, and that's going to be the standard. Now, part of the issue I see, the reason TCs cannot see the color is this little area right here. There's the filter, and if you, I think, yeah. It's not going to show on mine because I have it. Most TC, the standard is that it's going to be set up to filter by phase. I personally don't like phases. It doesn't work for me. I in my transactions constantly, so I don't need it to tell me which phase it's in. But once you have it switched in your profile and you switch to filter by agent instead of by phase, then that's when you would hit the paintbrush, and that's when all the colors show up after you customize your color for every agent. And that's something you would do when you onboard the agent. Then you don't have to go back and do it later.
Okay. And can we review maybe a bird's eye view of, I guess maybe we don't need to go in there, and I also don't think that we should be recording personal information when it comes to like transaction pipeline and what that might look like. Do you feel comfortable doing that, or might that have
I have the one set up already. That's a template. So whatever you like to see, I can go in there. There's all this information. It's just me, and I literally just put numbers in that are just standard numbers. So this is just a sample, so we can look at whatever.
Great. So when it comes to like seeing all of your transactions, there is a designated place, like it's more of a table view, or is it like a Kanban view?
So the view that you would be looking at, like right now, I have just these are I have it filtered, and so if normally I would have open transactions, but it's going to look like this. But these are all pink because they're me. But and I have put in a couple other closed old transactions so that you can see a couple other colors. But you see how this one is gray? This is an agent that I just helped another TC showing them how they would set theirs up. So this is what it would look like if you didn't have the agent set up. Let me go into this one so that you can see. We're just gonna just take these guys up really quick here. That is information from other people. And so in this agent's contact information, you'll see that I don't have them as anything. They're not current, previous, not that he was not a client of mine. As soon as I have it current, that's when all the options pop up. So
branding, yeah.
Current client of mine, then that's where I can customize the color of the agent, and their summary report color will change as well. But that's when you go into your transactions every day, how many ever you have. Right now, I just have it filtered by holding. They're going to all show up here as a list. And I didn't save his color, but if you were to make any changes, they're going to show up here.
Awesome. Is there a task pipeline where you can see all of the tasks that are currently due as well? So, okay, cool.
So right here, there is the transaction itinerary, and that's where you can see all of the tasks that you can see overdue, currently due, and like due today, and then also looking forward.
Amazing. Okay, now does tcDocs have an intake form option? I'm sorry, or can someone use something like Zapier to integrate something like 𝗁𝗏𝗀, Google Forms? So does it integrate with Zapier?
There is no Zapier integration. I have a jot form that I use, and then I just import the information manually. Like I showed you, it's really easy to put in. But if you wanted to create a sample transaction and send them an email within tcDocs, you could put a link to your, I don't know how Zapier works exactly. I'm guessing it's similar, but you could put that jot form or Google form link within that email and send it out. I personally do that in my inbox because it's one email and it's not something that I'm constantly doing. But I do have templates for things like that, onboarding agents and
yeah. And I love jot form for one. You can customize the email that goes out to you once the agent fills it out, like the private email that goes out to you. They get a confirmation email that they submitted it. You get a notification email that a new transaction has been submitted, and you can customize the order in which their answers. You can customize the email to show the answers of their questions in the same order as your tcDocs transaction input sheet. So you're not jumping up and down, back and forth. You can literally put transaction section, property details, and then sort the questions. You can ask the agent the questions in a way that makes sense for the agent, but when the email comes back to you, you can customize the verbiage in that email so that it goes in the same flow as your fields here in tcDocs. So when it comes to the intake form, really, it's just that intake process, right? Could you show us what is there a new transaction button or something?
So there's add new, and then I would
Okay.
buyer. I would take an acceptance date, street address. We're just going to go with the good old 123 Main Street, and then we'll just do my old hometown, whoever is from the Central Coast here. And
Cool. So yeah, that looks pretty straightforward, and it's just not a template that you create. It's just this is the intake process.
right. And so this is the intake process, and then the customization is where, okay, now which of these checklists do I need? And you'll see there's a couple names here. And so for my agents that have specific things, maybe they're in on a team, or their office doesn't have great compliance system, or maybe they don't have a broker portal. Everything here I can take. And so let's say I know it's a buyer. This agent doesn't have a broker portal or compliance system. They're in an HO, they have an HOA, they're going to do the home warranty. This one has a loan. This is a master buyer. Now I have a team, so some checklists I apply and some I don't, but everyone's different. There's most TCs, don't get overwhelmed by all my checklists. I started off with, I think, 3. So it'll add as you go. So, and then after you go here, let me see if I can get it to move up a little bit. And then you would create a task. Now it's asking me to sign back into Google. Sometimes it will do that. I'm not sure why the connection disconnect that time, but that's it as far as that goes. And then you would just start adding in. Now, of course, you might not have the contact information for the seller yet, but I'm just going to put myself in. And then it would be as easy as this. Now, if you had a new client, then you'd input it, and then it save it, and now it's a new buyer, selling agent.
So you literally just go down those tabs. It looks like the edit button is transaction, the people button is the contacts, the book is
summary report.
Okay. So you just work your way down. Cool. And I like that in that intake process, you can select your templates there. It allows you to select those multiple, where like in OTC, you would input the transaction, go to the task tab, apply template, go through the templates, apply them, hit submit. This is all in that intake process. So with like open to close, the intake form, you're submitted the intake form, and in the background, you might automate those templates to come in. But here, I'm sorry, the manual way in OTC doesn't allow you to easily kind of just see and add all the things. The template wise, there are document templates, and you can also add those, right? It showed you everything.
That's the section I didn't show yet is we have transaction documents. So in California, we are the litigious state. So we have a ton of documents. So I have a standard escrow checklist. We'll just apply that one. And you'll see there are all of my documents that I will possibly need. And then I also have custom ones that are like for older properties, one that's just specifically for compliance when we get closer to closing, an HOA, and then you can customize it for any office if you want. If you know, oh, this office is so different than everyone else, make their own custom document section template once, and then you can apply it every time. Now, I will show just a little bit more in this section what these buttons mean. So, because I know when I first started, this section intimidated me. So this form is the buyer's home HOA advisory. So this is a buyer only form. So that's why you see that B is the only red, because once we know the buyer, one click is it's out for signatures, 2 clicks is completed. And if we receive the document, the buyer signed, you can also just press fully executed, and that automatically checks that off. If we see this transaction actually doesn't have an HOA, then I can click this one, and then it just exempts it and takes it off the list. and whites it out.
Very cool. What is that plus bubble button? Send an email?
That is a note. So
Oh, nice.
you
Okay.
can add a comment via refuse to sign or out for send a reminder.
And then what's the checkbox or the square?
That is
just close it out. Oh, nice. Okay. So, okay, and then edit. Very cool. So some of us that have seen OTC can kind of feel familiarity here, and it feels good. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. We're at time, we're over time a little bit. Any final questions, thoughts, anything that we need out in the crowd? It turned out perfect timing. Thank you so much, Tasheena, for doing this. This was so good. I love tcDocs, always open to learning more. See, all we needed was a little bit of Tasheena to show us the way. Tasheena, again, thank you so much. We're totally gonna have to keep this rolling. So we'll keep it going. Oh yeah, here, please tell us how we can contact you, and maybe what that might look like. Just a quick ending here.
Sure. The best way to contact me is actually if you all are on Facebook, that's a great way, instant messaging me. And then you can also email me. I will provide my email with this webinar,
yes,
so that you guys can contact me that way. But honestly, I'm on Facebook Messenger is pretty the best way to contact me for inquiries or questions.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. You have been absolutely amazing. And I'll see you in the next one. Got to start planning now. Bye.
Bye.